Okay. Good morning, Yitjuok.
Yes, good morning, Nelson.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's a delight to have you on the recent fast.
Yes, thank you.
Actually, one worthy thing. This is the third time we're trying to record this.
Yeah.
Not the third time we're trying to plan it, but the third time we're in the studio because the first time we recorded a full episode, we realized that the sound was not good.
Yeah.
The second time we tried to record yesterday, just like the devices didn't work. So this is the third time. If this doesn't work, you'll have to go and seek you have to seek some redress from higher powers.
Yeah, for sure. But actually, I'm quite optimistic that this one is going to be great. The third time is always the best.
Yeah. So welcome. I would just introduction. You can tell me your name and probably what you do.
Yeah. I'm Yitjuok. I'm Yitjuok Agwet, known as Yitjuok Agwet. I'm a translator, writer, and also cultural actor. I mainly translate from English to Arabic. I'm a published translator with 5 books so far.
Okay. So can you explain to me what is the role of a translator?
The role of translator is to serve as a moderator or as a bridge between two cultures. Given that languages are in themselves cultural phenomena, so what translators do actually is just to bridge the language gap, so as two different cultures or two different languages can communicate easily and know about themselves.
And what kind of what is the historical background of the translation itself?
The historical background of the translation actually is related to religions somehow. It's religious. The Biblic one is the translation. Of course, it started in Babylon.
Yeah.
It's when people start speaking different languages and so on. But the first translation movement is started in Bible translations. Bible translation to different languages, and sometimes even into different variations of the same language.
Yeah, I mean we have the King James, which is kind of like
the King James version and so on,
and stuff like that, from Latin to
English.
Yeah,
and then from all English to
modern English, and and I think in the context of our country, probably like the biblical translation is the most known one.
Yeah, for sure. Translation also here also started as it was actually initiated by missionaries when they started translating Bible into our indigenous languages here. I guess the first Bible translation into one of South Sudanese now indigenous languages was in Bor, I guess.
In Bora.
It was in Bor. It was done by Catholic missionaries, and then it spread from there. Now I guess there is a translation of Bibles in more than 20
indigenous indigenous languages.
Yes.
We are pretty much a multilingual society. It's the South Sudanese society itself. Yeah. Are there exist other ways outside this formal translation movement? How did people used to communicate with each other, especially in situations where they don't understand each other's languages?
Actually, I'm not quite supposed about this, but what I know is that back in time, we noticed that most of chiefs and tribes they normally talk more than one language.
Yes. And I think also you see this also in places like, for example, in Upper Nile, probably most people in Upper Nile speak more than one or understand more than one language.
Yes, Upper Nile is a special case actually in South Sudan here. It's normal to find a person speaking 3 languages at least in Upper Nile, Shuluk, Denko, and
Yeah.
I think it's not just because of the diversity of Upper Nile state itself, but their tendency actually to live together for the past decades.
For the past decades, and also the necessity for trade and
yes, for trade and exchanging goods and services and so on. They find themselves actually forced to learn each other's language.
To learn each other's language. Now, when did you formally start translating, or what was your first kind of pieces of work?
Well, my first pieces of translation were short stories, actually. I started by translating short stories, mainly short stories written by South Sudanese in English into Arabic. By then I was working for a Sudanese newspaper. So I feel then that when people talk about Sudanese literature in Sudan context, they always exclude South Sudan.
South Sudanese,
Yes, South Sudan has no literature. But what I noticed is that the South Sudan, or Southern Sudanese, by then, literature was excluded actually from this narrative, because most of the writers were mainly writing in
English.
Yeah, yes. So I started by translating some short stories of great writers such as Tabalo Leong, Victor Logala, Edward Eramago, Luca, and so on. And my target wasn't just the Sudanese readers, but the Arab readers in general. Some of these translations actually were published in Sudan and as well in the Arab world, in Morocco and in Qatar as well, in some literary periodicals there.
What was your view, or what was the reception of that?
Actually, it was good actually. For most of readers, it was different.
Surprising.
Yes, different and a surprise that they are reading about South Sudanese literature and so on. Actually, considering that by then, for them, when we mention South Sudanese literature, the first person that pops up was Stella Gaetano.
Yes.
She was well known, established.
Because she writes in Arabic,
because she writes in Arabic. And then they get to know that there are a lot of writers here, actually starting from 50s and 60s and 70s, the likes of Jacob Yelakol, of Gertong, and all those. Actually, even they are not known that they are short stories writers. They are just known with different professions as journalists and so on. But they have literary contributions actually.
Because the South Sudanese writers have never been writers as the main profession. Even Lugala, the one we talk about, say for Taban Loliong, most of the writers did it as
even for Taban is a professor.
He's a professor. And
I guess it's quite difficult to take writing as a profession. It's not rewarding financially.
The society, I think as a society, we haven't come to the consensus that we need to dedicate resources.
For sure. And then there is some delicate balance here. Those who find that writing is their profession, they tend to publish shallow writings because they will always feel the urge or the need that they must publish something.
Because it is a work.
Yes. For those who have different professions, they publish when they feel like they are ready to write. So their contributions are mainly different. This is not a general rule.
But that's very interesting. What should be the impetus? What should be the necessity for writing? Should someone write because they feel that they are writer, they need to write? Or they should wait for another?
Actually, when it's come to literary writing, I guess someone should write when they feel they need to write. No, not just the need. Actually, when they are inspired to write, I guess, or when they are sure that what they are going to contribute will be better or even different from their previous works, at least.
So it's a kind of a continuous improvement.
Yes, a continuous improvement. So,
do you think we have a kind of like a writing? As Taban Luliang put it last time, he said like East Africa is a literary desert. Do you think South Sudan also has a literature deficiency in terms of writing?
We have a literature deficiency actually, but this is just partially in the written one, but in the oral one.
But in the oral one, we have a reach.
The problem is that we are still acquiring, documenting and writing culture. Most of our cultures, philosophies, and folklores are still just oral. But one of the promising things that you can notice in the past maybe 5 to 6 years, now there is a writing movement in South Sudan. There is a literary writing movement.
Yeah, there is, and I'm seeing a lot of it is kind of like led by young.
Now we have MK Kwal, Alit Chir, Catherine Raphael, a lot of upcoming and aspiring writers actually who are skilled in doing it.
Why didn't you like that? And I find that with also a lot of writing. Why is the writing not daring? Why is it not? I don't know what to say. Like, do you think people have kind of like limited themselves into like a certain block and certain areas that they could write about?
I guess it has not. It has something to do actually with the general environment here. The general environment doesn't encourage
kind of freedom of
artistic
thought or
expression and so on. It's quite difficult. So most of the time you notice that most of writers, even journalists and columnists and so on, they are exercising what is akin to
self-censorship.
Yep, self-censorship.
But I mean, we have few incidents where like someone like T.S. Iwen, I haven't read his book, but I understand the title is a bit provocative.
I read it actually.
You read it?
No, not just the title, the whole book.
You read the whole book?
Yeah.
Do you think it's
No. Yes, take it so far. This guy has no limit. I guess currently he is the most courageous writer, if I can put it that way. But
someone still the most indisciplined.
Yeah. Well, this is a different perspective.
Yeah.
But actually, what I find appealing about his writing is his way of his style. He's a master of his style. Yeah. Yes. We can argue about the content. And if the information provided are fact checked and so on.
Yeah.
But the way he writes, he's a master of his style actually.
So you think he's a good writer, but irrespective of the
for sure. He's a good writer and for that also a great editor also in English. He's very good. He's very good. He mastered the language.
So what is the role of writers in terms of kind of cultural movement and even societal movements? I mean, because you see, when you look at the Harlem Renaissance movement, even when you look at like other movements, you find that like writers are kind of at the forefront of some things. Even in Sudan, I mean, you have also. But what do you think is the role of writers in society?
The role of writers is to inform, I guess, is to inform the public. The role of writers as intellectual actually is to say what people don't want to hear. To talk about things that are considered to be taboos in the society, for instance, to advocate and to push for change, or at least to provide the materials, how to judge their opinions in a way that will stir dialogue, or force people to start things about their realities and how to change them, to overcome them, and so on. And actually, this happens here. Most of our writers in the 70s who wrote about the Southern Sudan problem, as it was known, they helped a lot in advocating our cases.
So they articulated our case.
Yes, especially during the Anyanya.
The Anyanya.
We have actually we had a lot of contributions there. Some of them even wrote about. For instance, there's a book about the Denka resistance, for instance, to the colonial administration, even before the independence of the Sudan by then. And also following 1965, there's a lot of contributions by South Sudanese by then who were mostly in exile, whether in Kenya, in Uganda, and so on, who were very vocal about the problems South Sudanese were facing in the oppression and the marginalization and so on. So most of their writings actually shaped the course of the second liberation and gave them, the background to the conflict and what was going on. Yeah.
In like our today's South Sudan, what do you think those boundaries are when you talk about writers supposed to write on the edge of what the society almost doesn't want to speak or doesn't want to hear? What do you think the boundaries are in the current society?
Actually, it's quite difficult to talk about boundaries when it's come to writing. I think we don't need.
What are the edges?
Maybe the explicit heady speech, maybe explicit heady speech and so on.
But save for that, a lot of things are up for grabs, right? A lot of things are out there to be talked about.
Yeah, for sure. Starting from societal problems, formation of the states and so on. Yeah.
I think that's probably the closest people that I can find right now to be like really pushing is the feminist movement. I think especially the younger feminist movement. Yeah. And I think probably they are probably like provoking the society in a way that I have not seen happen in a long time, because they're saying a lot of things that people don't want to hear.
Actually, I what they are doing is good to some extent. It's good in the sense that sometimes it takes shocking people with unfamiliar opinion in order to to force them to think, or to let them to think and reconsider what they think to be their realities and the norm. But also my take on their approach is that sometimes most of these writings are not just feminist. They are feminist, but at the same time they are anti-men. So this just send everybody into hiding, and then it's become a woman versus men things and so on.
No, but like,
media,
but someone can argue that like there is no, in a society probably that kind of the longest has gotten used to like women not speaking. There is no politeness. There is no level of dish that can be prepared well enough for someone not to be, for some people not to be excluded.
Yeah, for sure. But sometimes also you need to consider your target audience. You need to consider your target audience when writing. To think about the environment they are growing in, the way they accept ideas and so on. So what I'm trying to say is that actually they can compromise a little bit, not to compromise the very fundamental of the feminist movement, but to modify in the way in which they express their opinion, so that they can ensure that there is a dialogue.
What do you think? So you think like stuff like men are dogs? What do you think about that?
Yes, men are trash and so on.
Men are trash?
Yeah, those things are quite extreme.
Why?
Yes, they are uncalled for.
I actually find it interesting because the thing is...
Those are the things that irritate generally.
I mean, generally is naturally irritated. But I think it's very interesting. The shock value, one of the times I realized the usefulness of a shock value in terms of kind of movements and trying to send a message. In 2019, I got a chance to go to The Hague for the One Young World Forum. It's kind of this big youth forum with like 5,000 delegates or so from all over the world. And then you have all the stars and who. You have Mo Ibrahim from the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. You have Akon, who. So then we were at the auditorium. Probably like there were like 2,000, 3,000 of us attending a presentation by Mo Ibrahim. So Mo Ibrahim Foundation is giving all their presentations and what, and then in the middle of it, one lady shouts. She stands up and shouts. And we were like mortified. First of all, this is my first time to see heckling. No one in my country, no one shouts at anyone speaking, any public speaking, whatever.
Not just anyone, Mo Ibrahim.
Mo Ibrahim. She shouts. Hey. So I realized then, as she's shouting, then Mo Ibrahim was like, okay. He's speaking. He's a UK citizen, but he's English citizen. Okay, my sister, I'll listen to you. What? So she's telling him, why are you? The map is inaccurate because it's showing. I think it's Western Sahara. It's showing Western Sahara as part of. Is it Algeria? Is it Algeria or Morocco?
Algeria and Morocco both.
Yes. So why is Western Sahara being included in this? Why is Western Sahara not being shown as a separate country as part of your development indicators? Then she goes ahead. She basically challenged him. Look, I might not understand the cause of how or whatever the nature of whatever, but one thing that I can tell you for sure, like everyone for us had to Google what is Western Sahara. Yeah.
And then you know that.
Then I mean,
Polisario front.
Yes. I'm speaking about it right now. And then I'm just like, okay. At first I was just like, oh, this is very uncivil and what. But then when I went back to my room and I'm just like, oh my God, this lady is probably pushing us. She's pushing us to the edge of our discomfort so that we can go and now gain and to know, because otherwise we're too comfortable to even be bothered. And I was just like, okay, this is in fact for her cause. She probably did a very, very good. I mean, she discomforted the conference organizers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but then I realized like artistic disruptions and kind of like discomforting the audience. It's necessary, and I think to be honest, there is an area of my brain that has a place for this for the phrase "men are trash," because the idea with it is to make you turn and say like, "What are you saying?" And then they can tell you, okay, look, come, let me tell you about this. Women are being But if you take men are trash as the subject,
then you will just feel offended and
shut down the the same thing as when you look at people who do preaching on you media and street, like, okay, you're going to hell. You're like, okay, what do you mean? Okay, tell me, what do you mean I'm going to hell? Then they tell, oh, Jesus loves you, what. But if they start to you with that, I don't think you will get the chance.
But also to be fair, recently when when I want to reach out to read about a feminist opinion in South Sudan, I always Google Alwel. Her name is Alwel.
Alwel Atem.
Alwel Atem. I think she's signatory to the feminist charter, I guess, in Africa. She tend to write in a more reasonable way.
I mean, some people will disagree.
Don't just let herself, carry out, emotionally and so on. And
she's a good she's a friend of mine.
Yeah. So actually, what I'm trying to say is that if those advocating for feminism, actually we are feminists as well, but just give us the reason to advocate for these reasons, for the values of feminism movement among men. So when you attack them, you are sending them into hiding, and you are making it difficult for us to advocate for it.
To advocate for it.
Yeah. And then another problem also we are facing is this matter of our culture. It always shuts down the conversation. Talking about the last pictures that went viral online and so on, of cautioning this little girl.
The marriage.
Yes, I'm still insisting on the same term. It just ended like it is our culture and you are not part of it. So,
but don't you think that discussion is a bit cheap? I mean, when there's cattle raiding, no one says that that's our culture. You definitely want.
What is happening actually?
Yes.
When people are dealing selectively with cattle.
Yes. Yes, when there is cattle raiding, you're not saying that this is a culture.
When there is a cattle raiding, it's crimes. And
it's whatever. Because I think, but also come to think of it, there are a lot of things that were like, I was telling someone like back in the day, like we never used to have vaccine or even issues of scarification. Like right now, almost all respectable adults know that scarification is not.
Yes, there has a health implications and so on.
Yes, and no one probably says that is my culture. And I just think at times that discussion, that argument is not.
And then it's not quite well actually. But the problem else is that actually, to be honest, we shouldn't even be discussing this. It should have been addressed by law years back. Actually, to be honest.
I think, but also like our law has a room for common law. I mean, for traditional law and stuff like that. I think
yes, but at the end of the day, you cannot adopt some the common law and the traditional law when you are already you have ratified some of the international laws that are in contradictions with those practices. So I guess what we need is some balance. To try to appropriate even most of our national laws here to the international ones that we ratified already.
What do you think, like in your culture, for example, do you think there's few stuff that you still need to deal with? Like, I mean, you in the Sholo culture, you're not an expert in that, but I'm just asking.
I think so. One of the things that I believe that we still need to work on is to reconsider all these MAC system and so on.
Do you think the royal?
Yes, this royal matter should be reconsidered. In actually even on the national level here, our laws needs to state clearly the powers of this,
of the royal.
Yes, of the royal, and not just of Shuluk, of the Shuluk and of Yitjuok and of Azande as well. Because what's happening?
Let's be very honest. Like all these other royals, they really don't have a lot of powers, save for the Shuluk one.
So they should just be honorary. They should just be honorary. But what is happening right now actually is that it is as you have small countries within a country. So it's quite difficult. The royal system in Fashoda, for instance, they have their police and their courts.
They have their own police and their own courts.
So on. Yeah, which is weird. For instance, if I go into a problem with anyone from Shuluk right now, for instance, and then it happens that I was in Malakalo in Fashoda, the jurisdiction of the royal family there. Mostly they will, I will be dealt with according to Sholo customary law. And personally, I wouldn't accept that actually, because I want to be treated as South Sudanese holding South Sudan passport, and I should be actually dealt with according to the South Sudanese law and the penal code.
Yeah, but are the subjects of the royal okay with it?
Actually, most of them are okay with it, and actually, some even are considered to be a sacred thing. Actually, and this is the problem.
Don't you think it's sacred?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And the problem is that I don't know a lot of information about that of the Yitjuok and Zande, but of Shuluk is that he has spiritual,
Yes, it's spiritual
and political authority,
yeah.
and even he can decide on behalf of Shuluk, just to confiscate their political will or whatever, to decide on behalf of them what they should do, which is a violation to our political and cultural rights.
So do you think the monarchy is above currently is above the political leaders in that community?
Yeah, which is quite a dangerous thing actually.
But a lot of the times the monarchy, but I've seen monarchy system even in Thailand and in the UK. We have the monarchy system in the Netherlands and what, but they still cherish the monarchy.
Yeah, but there is different, because here the monarch here is just directed just to one tribe out of 64, which is quite difficult. So the subject of it are just thousands, maybe. So I guess it should just be made just an honorary position.
But you have places,
you
have places like in Nigeria where you have the emirs and what do you call it? You have the emirs and you have the ogas, the sultans and the what, and like the different types of chiefdoms. They actually exercise a lot of power. And even in Sudan, we have the what do you call it? What do you call them? The shuyukh and the mashayikh and what? Yes. They also like. In the khalwas, they basically run.
Yes, but the problem is that most of the time they just turn out to be just tools, in the hands of the controlling system, just to keep controlling the majorities and and the minorities as well. Talking about Sudan experience, for instance, the NCP used to win the election just by talking to those sheikhs, and then the sheikhs will order their subordinate to give their votes.
Because some of them also do fatwa and
and so on. It's quite dangerous. Actually, this is happening right now.
Yes, we're talking right now.
Yeah, this is just what our Mag just did last year, I guess, when he endorsed Self-Fakir and honored him and so on.
Did he endorse or he honored him?
Actually, both of them. And then actually, what is going to happen next, and just anticipating this, that when the election is just around the corner, shallow population just will be in South Sudan and abroad as well, will just be instructed to vote for Kir. Actually, I don't have problem with him. I don't have problem with him being a SPLM and he thinks that Kir is a good leader and so on. But it's quite difficult, to just to use your spiritual and your political authority over people just to divert their political will. If
just to be honest, in all fairness, the representative of the king is not here, and also in their right, they'll just say like, "Hey, look, we're not telling people that they should vote. This is a natural relationship between the head of the state and the monarch, and the monarch is just honoring the head of the state, but it's not probably instructing you to vote or to do it, because there is a recent endorsement that happened in Malakal. The monarch wasn't a big figure there.
Yes, but what happened mainly is that as for Shuluk, when they see him that he is taking a political side, they will just eventually just follow him.
So you think by
not because they are convinced with his political orientation and so on, or his political affiliation, because they think that this is the right thing to do, to honor him, to respect him. So this is the problem.
Okay. I think I understand. Someone might have a few views on that. Let's talk a little bit about Sudan, because you kind of brought it up. You grew up in Sudan probably all your life. From an early age, you studied there. You also, to some extent, you can probably you have a lot of inclination towards Sudan as a country and as a culture and as a word. Sudan is right now embroiled in a very serious conflict. A conflict that probably might tear the heart of Sudan if not handled well. When you look at this, what do you make of this?
Actually, what is happening to Sudan is quite unfortunate, and at the same time, it's just the result of past mistakes of decades that accumulated and then resulted in this war. What was happening in Sudan for the past years is that the central government in Khartoum will create militias, tribal militias, to be exact, and then use them to carry out the war on behalf of the central government, or to try to neutralize the rebellions that were happening.
So it's a war by proxy.
Yes, war by proxy. Just to neutralize the rebellions, in some parts of Sudan. And what is happening now, actually, that the RSF fighting the national government is just as at the beginning, the national government created the RSF to carry out the wars by proxy in Darfur. And then just it happens that when you create a militant group and so on, by the time when they acquire financial wealth and so on, now they just they think that they deserve actually to rule all the Sudan, not just to be used as a tool to punish others.
Because the RSF grew rapidly.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, rapid support.
There is the accident of Renascence involving in what is known as Khartoum process. To stop the immigrant trying to escape to Europe and so on. So their influence actually extend to Europe and to
and they were involved in the war in Yemen and
in the war in Yemen and so on. We got a lot of money there and so on. They have good ties also with some Gulf states and so on. Yeah. So they are financially, backed by some countries.
So you think the RSF is a product of what the Sudan had created, what the ruling system in Sudan had already created?
Sorry.
So the RSF is a product of the years of the proxy.
Yes, it's just a product of year of proxy and so on. But then the problem with the RSF actually in what's making them these fighters when it's come to fighting and so on is that actually some of them aren't even Sudanese. They're just mercenaries from different countries and so on.
Yeah, but this argument a lot of people kind of like also push back on it. So like it doesn't make sense for all of them to be.
Actually, not all of them, but some of them are there.
Is it a significant number?
Actually, I don't have the statistic, but I can say half of them at least.
Half of them. You think half of the RSF are
Sudan?
But hasn't the system in Sudan always kind of used citizenship as a way of very selectively? Because there is a time when Jongarang wasn't Sudanese.
No, not just that. Even there was a time, even during Jongarang, there was during Asad al-Mahdi, they were called as Marahil. Even those Marahil weren't Sudanese by then, because most of Sudanese, weren't ready actually to fight Garang. They just take a stand from Garang and so on. And then Asad al-Mahdi created al-Marahil. Some of them were Bedouin, Arab, in the Kordofan and so on. And they were backed also by some soldiers, even from other countries, from Morocco and from all those countries.
No, but that's not the argument that I'm making. The argument that I'm saying is that like there is the idea of citizenship in Sudan. It's it is used at times because even right now when you look at Sudan, even after South Sudan is separated, there is the whole there is the national number. What do you call it? The national security number, or the national number,
the
national identity. They're like Sudan has like 3 different IDs.
Yes.
So you have the Raqam Watani.
Yes. Actually, during crisis, all these IDs will just be cancelled, and then they will use the language test. If you pass it, then you are Sudanese. If you remember during the rate of justice and equality, Ibrahim took the yardstick of
of measuring.
Yes, of measuring if you are Sudanese or not. But by then, just was pronunciation.
Because even during
you will be asked just to say
to pronounce
certain terms, to pronounce certain terms, and then according to it, they will decide whether you are Sudanese.
and you can actually lose your life as a result of that.
You can lose your life if you fail to meet the Arab.
Because even those guys were called Murtazaga by then, mercenaries. The Khalil.
Yeah, of course. It's used sometimes just to discredit them, as mercenaries and so on. But it happens that the RSF cases
it has factual. Why do you think the RSF lasted in this war this long?
I always describe this as what is happening is just like a match between a team from Europe League and another team from no disrespect, but from the Somali League. The RSF has been fighting for the last years.
So
sometimes in Yemen.
So they had really done their practices.
Yeah, they have done their practices. And then another thing is that they are very good when it's come to war in cities. Unlike
urban warfare.
Yeah, urban warfare, unlike the Sudanese National Army.
Because in urban warfare you cannot use a lot of this air force, air power and what. People, it's not desert.
Yes, they are good in movement. They literally even move with motorcycles and so on.
Yeah. But now, the one thing that I've noticed over the course of this conflict, the civil voices have really been at least for what I monitor online, they have lost a lot of favor with the public. The progressive kind of.
Yes, I guess this is just a result of high expectation. By 2019, expectations was to the roof. People really believed in Hamadok, and also in the civil group, that they are going to make change and so on. And then actually, what happened actually then, to some reason, just people thought that the civilian will be able to recover and and
recover the wealth.
Yes, and to reform Sudan just in 4 or 5 years. Literally, they expect them to reform what the NCP done in 30 years, just in about 3 or 4 years.
Yep. But at the start, they were very good movement. There were very good things. Like, I mean, the delisting of Sudan from some of these. I think they listed from countries supporting terrorism, or there was a process on that. Yeah. The debt conference, the debt relief conference, and the debt forgiveness conference in Paris.
Yeah. Then unfortunately, just their partners just decided
to do a coup and
to do a coup and so on. And then Hamadok resigned publicly. And then since then, what is happening actually, I think, is just a result of disappointment. To some extent, they are just disappointed at them. They're just disappointed at them because they think
people say people say publicly now. I see the sentiment online. Hey, we want Ghosh back. We want the NCP back. That at least they can fight for us. Even Jihaz al-Amn, the most repressive system.
This is what happened actually when people feel threatened, in their very own existence.
So they have to resort to those. They said, like, let's now.
They will just say that since both of them are bad, why not deal with the devil we know, as the say goes.
What is the ramification of this conflict on us, on South Sudan?
They are financially, I guess we are already struggling now. I guess there is some disruption of
the oil
and so on, which resulted in the financial hardships we are going through right now, and also in the long run. In the long run, I guess at least when the war is done there, we will just find ourselves in a position where we will have to deal also with South Sudanese militants who are part of the RSF right now.
Do you think there are South Sudanese militants who are part of the RSF?
There are some of them, unfortunately. There are some of them there. And actually, I'm afraid that they are supporting them so they can support them later on. This is what actually...
No, but someone would say, like a lot of people saying online, these are really mostly for economic reasons. People who just want to get, if the number is that significant. I don't think it's a geopolitical.
It's not a geopolitical one for sure.
And South Sudan position on this has been very clear. Like, we don't support and
To some extent, yes. Yes, I guess I think so.
Yeah. So, I think, but definitely we'll have to deal with the ripple effect of some of the even the combatants who will come here, even if they're not South Sudanese, if they haven't already. So there's a lot of things to do with that. Let's kind of, I want to take it back to a bit of now, like talking about culture and translation and even youth in this country. So now you have translated, you said, 5 books?
For 5 books, so far. 5 books.
5 books so far. Yeah. As we speak right now, you're primarily based in the UAE, in Dubai. How did you get to the UAE and what are you doing there?
Actually, by 2022, I just found it difficult to carry out my duties here. The first reason is that the translation market is not quite popular here. And then I thought that it would be better if I relocate to UAE, try to pursue better opportunities and so on. Since I've been there, I have been actually working also for South Sudan Mining Journal remotely in South Sudan here. I'm their translator, and also working there, translating books and freelancing with some companies there in the field of translation, in literary translation, to be specific.
Is it rare? I mean, it is rare for South Sudanese to be translating in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. No, not just for South Sudanese, for Black Arabic translators in general, because it's quite difficult to
make
brand yourself, to brand yourself and sell yourself out there that you translate Arabic. Will be quite difficult. It is as you will be speaking Arabic while your color is not.
It's not. Do you think that is there some inherent discrimination or racism when it comes to like dark skin or black skin Arabic speaking groups?
Yeah, to some extent. The problem is that, for instance, in my resume is there that I speak English professionally, and when it comes to Arabic, I write the native.
You're a native speaker.
Yes, I'm a native. So it's quite difficult to convince an Arab that you are a native Arabic speaker. So it's quite difficult because they think that they don't look at language just as a cultural phenomenon that you can acquire, but as a birthright or as something that is ethnically inherited. So this
but language is not right, or language proficiency.
No, it's not for sure. It's not. So it can be acquired over the years.
And also people can be native, can be like ethnic owners of language, and also be very terrible at it.
For sure.
That's why someone's saying like, when people are asked what is the largest Portuguese-speaking country in the world, people say Portugal. Like it's not.
No, it's not.
It's Brazil. So there is a lot of this. There is a lot of this. Do you think that but there are a lot of especially from Sudan, there came a lot of dark skin or black. I don't know what they call it. They call it what? Zunuja. Like there are a lot of dark-skinned Arabic speaking writers who kind of shattered this perception.
I think you are referring here to Tayyip Saleh, I guess.
Yeah.
To Tayyip Saleh. But the Sudanese stand is different.
Because they view that they're Arabs.
They view that they're Arab. They think that they are Arab. And also when you are a Muslim, it's much easier for you. Yes, because Arabic is the language of the Quran and so on. Yeah. But being African and Christian and even probably a pagan, it's quite difficult.
It's quite difficult. So there are like so many identity intertwined in this. In order for one to be to kind of
but what is good about countries such as the UAE is that at the end of the day, just they look at what you can bring.
They look at the merit.
The merit. Yes, and actually I worked as hard as possible for the last 5 years, to build a reputation and so on, which culminated in me being granted the Sharjah grants, sponsored by by Sharjah Book Authority.
So that's the it's like a state grant.
Yes, it's like a state grant right now. And ultimately, actually, even now I have been awarded a recommendation by the Minister of Culture to obtain a golden visa for creatives. Yeah.
How do you feel about when you get such do you feel like now your work is finally getting the ears?
I almost cried when I received the email. It's quite a great thing actually to feel that that your efforts are being recognized and that you really matter to the extent of awarding you such a prestigious visa, so you can stay just and hang around.
The visa is for a long time, right?
For 10 years, and
10
can
years.
be renewed 3 times. This is 40 years. I remember just chatting with my friend, and I told him that
You got
yes, I got a recommendation for golden visa, and it's signed by Undersecretary of the National Culture in the UAE. While Nadia Rob doesn't know who is it.
Nadia Rob, the Minister of Culture here in South Sudan.
That doesn't even know who is it. So
you think to some extent like you think that here your work is not valued enough, right?
Not that it is not valued, but I think the reading culture in general is still poor in South Sudan. The reading culture, we are improving. Actually, we are improving, but to some extent it is still poor for different reasons. Of course, some of them are mainly financial reasons and so on. For instance, one of the worst businesses you can run in Juba is to open a bookshop. We are running one now in Abailif here, and it's just we are just there.
Yeah, it's
not. We have a library, yes. But at the end of the day, observing the general conditions in the country and so on, you can't blame anyone. People are quite busy, seeking, survival needs and so on. Yeah.
So I think so it's not a big priority.
Yes, it's not a priority, and actually it shouldn't be in such conditions. Actually,
do you think writers who probably want people to people to read their books while they're hungry, you think they're a bit
they're just a bit optimistic, I guess. Optimistic. But then another problem with most of writers here actually is that they don't think regionally or internationally. Most of them will just print their books
and they think of
the country here. They are not registered with no international registration and catalog and so on, and then they will just circulate it internally.
But I think I find that is something that is actually it's a phenomenon of a lot of South Sudanese. There is a bit of national looking down of ourselves.
Yeah, but the problem is that actually some of these works are really good.
So they need
to be distributed.
I think that's also
platform.
That should also be applied to a lot of cultural products, music, all these things. It needs to be looking outwards more.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that is.
Sometimes I don't know, for some reason it happens that most South Sudanese creatives and culture producers, they just think that them being South Sudanese, they have different criteria and different standards, and that what they are producing actually won't meet the international standard, and just it should be South Sudanese, which is actually a negative,
It's a very negative. I mean, for me, even this happened to me over the years. I've moved from being a South Sudanese to a South Sudanese professional to a professional from South Sudan, which I think is the right.
For sure.
Which is, I think, is the right. I've seen this happen to me gradually over the years because I do content moderation and IT and digital rights and stuff. So over the years, I used to be like, oh, this is South Sudanese, but then now I'm kind of okay. This is the professional, this and this, who is from South Sudan.
Yeah. By 2020, some people here in Juba used to refer to me as a translator of Adwok Nyaba.
This is to really put it as a community.
Translator.
Because you translated his 2 of his books?
One, the most acclaimed translation I did so far. So they used to refer to me as a translator of Adwok Nyaba. Then outside, of course, I will be the South Sudanese translator, Mutarjim Junub and so on. Actually, what I have been doing the last 2 years is just to get rid of this South Sudanese translator to a translator.
To a translator.
Yeah, that's why I translated. I translated a book actually for an Indian author. Her name is Anwar Dagandi, and it's about feminism. I just thought that it's quite important, you know.
So that book is now like it's consumed by different other nationalities, right?
Actually, those books didn't reach even South Sudan yet. The other one is a novel for South African writer. His name is Fred Komalo. I translated it into Arabic actually. This is the book I translated with the translation grant.
With the translation grant.
Actually, now they are read in all over the Gulf states and also in Cairo, but. We have some copies here in Sinus for sure. Exclusive copies for Sinus, but they are not here yet. So I'm trying to get rid of this South Sudanese translator to a professional translator, or a published translator.
I think it definitely for minorities it's a bit, but I think also at times it's good also that it affords you a platform, because as soon as someone says he reads your work or find your work of use, and they'll ask, what is this South Sudan? I think probably that's an avenue now to educate people on. I think it's a burden that we probably have to carry for long.
Yes, but for sure we'll carry it for considerable period of time. But the problem is that, you know when you Google South Sudan,
the image is already
you write South Sudan as South Sudan war, South Sudan peace agreement, and so on. So you know, for you being introduced as for instance as a South Sudanese tech expert and so on, tech expert will just be attacked. The keyword will be South Sudan. Most of people will be wondering how come that there is a tech expert in South Sudan. So what will happen is that, you know, you will be labeled maybe negatively. Sometimes you will be positively discriminated.
Yes, being given a lot of, look at him all the way from...
which is also a discrimination. That's why I just prefer... You know.
I remember one time someone was asking me, like, how did you go to school? I'm like, my dad paid for my university in Nairobi. So I mean, there are a lot of people who had difficulties in doing this, but also there are people who had experience. I wouldn't describe it as normal. It's still difficult, but somehow it's, I think all voices account in this. What is the future outlook for you in the coming years?
The future outlook in the coming years. Actually, artificial intelligence is taking over our jobs.
Yes, because artificial intelligence doing considerably good work in translating and.
I just learned weeks ago that most of telecommunications companies in the Gulf now are getting rid of the custom services stuff. Instead of hiring 500 people to do the customer service, you just use the AI to do the job, and then you will need about 2 or 4 just to collect the data and analyze them to submit the final report by the end of the day.
Wow!
Now artificial intelligence translations are, I guess, accurate, about 90% accurate. So as a translator,
not only accurate, but they even understand sentiments, and
they are culturally rooted.
Yes,
and translate idioms and so on, which is quite dangerous for literary translators. So I guess for the upcoming years, what is going to happen is that those who will be able, to adapt how to shift quickly, will survive. I guess this is going to happen for the upcoming.
But I think a lot of people are going to be, especially the older school, they're really going to have it hard.
Yeah.
But this artificial intelligence, I think people who don't understand the magnitude of change in it. Like it is probably a bigger change than the typewriter or other things, because it's allowing knowledge consumption and knowledge production in a magnitude that is beyond. Sure. Like it can do, you can ask it anything. It can do for you a recipe of food. But very soon when we feed it with a lot of things, it can even do, it can create folklore. It can even create novels, let alone, it is doing already.
Already there are some websites now. You can just ask for, need a short story, and you describe the mood in which you want it and so on. And then they produce the text, and then you just edit it.
What should be the role of the human being in this kind of where, like, the knowledge is being generated by machines?
I think the role of a human being will still be, to put that personal touch. There is always some element that that AI missed. to some extent. For instance, when it's come to articles right now, any article that is AI generated, you can tell from the language, you will feel that, there is this woody language, it's not quite, you will notice there is no personal touch in the language, it's not, there is a lacking intimacy in somehow. So I guess for years to come, it will be quite important still, to hire services, to hire.
I think in the future, probably a lot of this AI will be integrated together with the human. So you'll find probably someone you have, and then probably there is an AI that you put on. It's kind of an extended memory or something. So probably by the time you're thinking, the AI is probably writing.
That's why we need to think about it. We need to think about finding solution to still be relevant while the artificial intelligence is improving. Years from now, if the services you are provided, if they can be done efficiently, and, cost efficient as well.
To be honest,
why would people hire you?
To be honest, I think a lot of the people who now have the privilege, because you realize, like, now this issue of like writing good English, it used to be such a but now I think that like people are like, provided what you need to, provided you express what you want, the AI can now make you all leveled. So I think it's a bit bad for the people who their whole thing was that, I mean, it's that I write good.
I write good.
But now it's a kind of like, probably now you should differentiate yourself in thinking and in the thought and in the sentiments and the things that you express, the original ideas that you are articulating. But I think, even in the future, we might have an AI. I think we already do right now that does live translation, but we might even have an AI that as I speak to this mic, it modulates and makes my speech. It removes all the, I think.
For instance, now most of subtitlers have already started losing their jobs. Now there is
an AI.
The generated subtitle.
Yeah, and it's very accurate. Even the generated subtitles, like in English,
depending on the
it even looks at the pronunciation and what and gives you something that is a bit,
which is quite dangerous. So it's quite important for people, to make sure that they will still be relevant for the upcoming years. This is going to happen.
Why do they need to be relevant? I think if you're getting your food and if you're eating and sleeping, I think because we might become a subservient. Because I think that's what happens, is that like the people who have money will utilize a lot of this tech to even gain more money, and then those who don't have, you'll somehow be used as you'll become a second class.
Yeah, but I think do you really think that the revolution in artificial intelligence is going to affect us? One of the good things about being a citizen of countries like South Sudan and so on, where the utilization of technology and so on in the public life is still low, is that South Sudanese, most of South Sudanese professionals will still be relevant for years to come.
Yeah, but I think this is really forced relevance now.
We are still using. We are still using papers.
When we're using it, so like miraculous messengers. But also that's primarily something to do with the government. The private sector, even in whatever, if it finds ways of making money, it will. They will shift actually. It will gravitate. But also, like, look at it in other ways. Like, look at all these companies that do oil exploration or what. I think, like, with enough artificial intelligence and data, there shouldn't be exploration. There could be something probably that just scans everything, that tells you this is like, there is a lot of areas where this can become extremely relevant. Also, there are a lot of areas that this can also become very scary in terms of like data and analysis and warfare. Look at what's happening in Sudan now. In the past we used to have state using drones, but now even rebels are using drones. So you can imagine, like, these drones that they're using now, just give it, they have already learned it. They're not going to unlearn these skills. So just give it enough artificial intelligence. You can find even now, the drone can even be given now a picture of you.
Just a picture and instruction to recognize your face and so on. Facial recognition.
But also people also think like, maybe for it to go in the aerial thing and recognize your face, but maybe the drone can plug into all the systems and the phones and the surveillance cameras and what. All of these are feeding. So as soon as your picture is snapped somewhere, it can put coordinate, sends it up, and then before you know it, it's it's and I think a lot of these technologies we see it in what's happening in Gaza and what, but like warfare and the ability to do harm has never been greater than now. Look at this right now, like even these explicit images. AI can create a naked picture of you that it's almost hard for someone to know that it is.
This deepfake technologies.
Yes, deepfake technologies. It can ruin people's futures and what. Look, it's. I think, in terms of people who are going to have children, which is a lot of us, I think this is the most difficult era to do parenting ever. Gone are the days where you can say your kids cannot have a phone until the age of 18. No. I mean, the comfort that a phone gives you far outweighs the...
Now, instead of, during the previous time, instead of, the peer pressure and so on, now you have the whole world pressure.
The whole world pressuring and your kids coming to you with very difficult questions. And like, hey, what is trans? What is gender? What is... what is happening in Gaza?
I read a report somewhere about there is increase in suicide numbers among teenagers because of just using Snapchats and Instagram and so on. Because most of them, start to think that they aren't beautiful enough.
Yes. Because and also like a lot of this Instagram, they use filters and what. So you want to apply yourself to these standards, and it is just very hard. I work on these topics, and it's like very, very difficult to try to have a societal consensus. And I think in South Sudan, we're going to see, we're already seeing some of these negative impacts. You find like a lot of our youth just like copying and gravity. I mean, people dye their hair, people do what. Now, what if people start doing piercing? What if drugs online becomes more cool? I mean, there is no the limits to this is hard.
Yeah, and it's quite difficult to be controlled, though. It's quite difficult to be controlled, actually. But I guess what just can be done is to try as much as possible for Renaissance to regulate national policies regarding digital use and so on.
Yes, we need.
This may help, I guess.
I think this might help because it's. I mean, it's for South Sudanese parents. The wave of parenting for South Sudanese is just don't do it in front of me. That's the whole thing. I mean, a lot of parents know that their kids smoke, probably whatever, do a lot of frivolous things, but it's just like you want to be, as long as you in your presence, your kid is looking respectful, that is sufficient.
Respectful, and don't embarrass you with the neighbors.
Yes, don't embarrass me with the neighbors. So, so probably the kids from this neighborhood go and commit crimes in the other neighborhood. Those ones from there come here. So,
it's all fine.
Yeah. Yitjuok, thank you so much for coming to the RecentPast. It was rather enlightening and very, I can say like we cut across so many things. I can imagine the person who is following this, they really have to prepare their head.
To try as much as possible to keep up.
To go all the way from the Sholokun Kingdom to Sudan, to the Middle East. To translation, and to come back to talk about AI.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And I hope this time it's not going to...
Let us hope so.
Let's hope so with the technical guys.
Yeah,
okay.
You.